Good afternoon, TED people. Great to see you here. I was told by a friend backstage that if I'm nervous, I should just imagine all of you naked. And guess what? You all look beautiful. You really do. Except for that guy over there and this one over here. But you look wonderful. So I'm not nervous anymore. For just a moment or two, close your eyes for me and imagine yourself as somebody who has been traveling all across our magnificent planet, visiting places of beauty and exploring fascinating new cultures for months on end, maybe even years on end. You are the person who is living in Bali, snorkeling with leatherback turtles off the coast of Bali. You are the person who is volunteering as a teacher in a village school somewhere in West Africa. You are the person who is working on a trawler ship in Tierra del Fuego in Argentina on its way to Antarctica so you can explore the hidden continent. You are the person for whom time and space has no meaning. You are the person who doesn't feel at home anymore in one place, but feels at home everywhere you go. Are you a true global nomad? Are you one of those people who has left their place of birth, their culture, their country, their family, to explore new beginnings in different places with a fresh need to open a new chapter in life? Now open your eyes. Today, my talk is going to be about those kind of people. The unique people that have left whatever they had behind in their place of birth, in their place where they grew up, left mainstream lifestyle and gone on to different places to find new beginnings, to create a new sense of self-identity and break away from mainstream living that they left behind. You might be wondering by now, what makes me credible to be talking about global nomads like these wanderlust gypsies that have left mainstream lifestyle a few years ago? Well, let me tell you about this. When somebody asks me in Chiang Mai, which travelers often do, where are you from? I get all tongue-tied and usually end up making a joke saying, oh, if it's Tuesday, I must be from Belgium. You see, I have been born in Tanzania, grew up in Uganda until I was 21, left at the age of 21, better still, kicked out of Uganda, along with 80,000 other Asians by psychopath Idi Amin in 1972. I too lost my culture. I too lost my family. I too lost my place of birth. And I too lost my country. But in the process, I was fortunate enough to spend the next 3 decades looking for a sense of purpose, looking for a way to identify who I am and manifest my sense of self-identity, and in my search for a new place to call home. I worked with humanitarian work in different parts of the world, worked with the poor, and ended up realizing that I too am a global nomad. Let me give you an example why. My mother tongue is Gujarati, yet I speak in American English. I carry an American passport, but I am of Indian origin and live in Thailand. When I was a kid, I used to sing Bollywood songs. Now I dance to Jimi Hendrix and the Garifuna music of Belize. To complicate matters even more, I was born a Shia Muslim, and today, nature is my only God. So you see why it's a little difficult to respond to the question, Where are you from? Global nomads are an increasing phenomenon of the 21st century. Refugees, like me, have been displaced in different parts of the world. The UN claims there's 11 million refugees on our planet today, homeless, without culture, without a sense of belonging. Other global nomads include people that are using travel and tourism as a way of making a living, like travel writers and photographers looking for the perfect story or the perfect snapshot, military personnel, international global corporation businessmen who travel from airport to airport and city to city in search of profit margins, if you like. These are all global nomads too. But it would be a mistake to think that global nomads is a phenomenon just of the 21st century. Let's dig a little bit back into history, my friends. In the 13th century, when Marco Polo was traveling through Central Asia into China and ended up spending numerous years in the court of Kublai Khan, he didn't have any GPS satellite or Lonely Planet guidebooks. He certainly didn't even have a map. What was going on in his mind when he was traveling for that extended period of time without having an intercultural advisor to teach him about culture shock, to teach him about cultural differences, to teach him about values and situations and actions that he may come across that would certainly be different from what he was used to? Take another example. Within another century or two, seafaring explorers like Columbus, like Magellan, Vasco da Gama, Zheng He from China, Thor Heyerdahl from Norway, these are all people that decide at some point in their lives to explore the world and put the world on a map that we can now take for granted today. My favorite example of the perfect global nomad is a man called Richard Burton. No, not the actor, the explorer. This is a man who not only traveled all over the world carting maps of different parts of the world, but along the way ended up mastering not one, not two, not even 10, but 29 languages, African, Asian, and European languages. If you look at this man's CV, his resume, it says, diplomat, poet, ethnographer, ethnologist, cartographer, James Bond type of spy, and yes, prolific writer as well. This is how this man manifested his creativity and his sense of self-identity of living in a globalized, nomadic world. I would like to take this time to come back to 21st century nomads and give you a profile of 3 different people from our century, from our neighborhoods, if you like. 3 different people from 3 different generations with vastly different backgrounds, to see that global nomads is not just a phenomenon, it's definitely on the rise. Her name is Rosha. She just turned 80 a month ago. Born in India, pre-independence India, to Indian family. She grows up in a Catholic school in Calcutta, ends up after high school going to school in Boston, in university in Boston, hoping to become a lawyer, according to her parents. But of course, rebel that she was, she ends up studying theater and ballet and gets disowned by her own family financially anyway. She perseveres, manages to get her degree in theater, moves on to the prestigious Sorbonne University in France to study political science, and becomes an avid Marxist. In the process, she explores many parts of Europe, ends up meeting a man called Reggie, her German friend, and incidentally, her 4th husband. And marries him and learns her 7th language, German. This lady with reggae traverses all over the world, making amazing films and documentaries of political opposition leaders like Chairman Mao Zedong, Kim Jong-il of North Korea, the Shah of Iran, Jonas Savimbi, the guerrilla activist from the Angolan War, and yes, even reggae Rastafarian legend Bob Marley, because she happened to live in Jamaica and he was her neighbor. In her last decade, when widowed, where does she go? Thailand. This woman is an icon in Chiang Mai as a woman who worked with a lot of Buddhist monks, international organizations, even the royal family, to create a humane education program utilizing sterilization of stray dogs, a massive problem in northern Thailand, as part of that humane education program. This is a woman who passed away, sadly, just about a week and a half ago. At her Buddhist funeral, this is a woman who was born a Parsi, a sect of Iran. At her Buddhist funeral, at the cremation, hundreds of people showed up to commemorate the life of a wonderful lady, to feel sorrow for a woman that touched their lives, and also to celebrate a woman who said, when I go, play some reggae music for me and have a good time. This is a very good example of a global nomad. But another one. Her name is Karina. She's 58. She was born in 1958 to a German father and a Peruvian mother. So she ends up becoming what we call a third culture kid, living in two worlds, learning to become part of the German culture, which is part of our system of education, at the same time on Saturday nights going to Latino clubs and dancing the cumbia or the salsa. She learns very quickly that it's easy to move in and out of this culture, and by the time she's 15, she's speaking fluent French, very good German, very good Spanish, and excellent English. This is a woman who starts busing to play and plays Latino protest song music on the streets of Frankfurt, Germany, to pay for her fare to get to Peru, so she can explore her Peruvian roots and understand that side of her too. Not satisfied with just living in two worlds, she moves on in her 30s to none other than Chiang Mai, Thailand, where she does a PhD in intercultural studies and focusing on preserving the cultural heritage of hill tribes in northern Thailand. She spends effort, time, research, mastering the Lahu language, makes documentaries with Lahu farmers on cultural practices and community development that are on the verge of extinction. And just last year, she opens up a coffee farm, now using coffee as a way to bridge gap between cultures. She sells her coffee in Frankfurt, she sells her coffee in Vancouver, Canada, she sells her coffee in Thailand and different parts of Asia. And the money that comes from the proceeds of coffee, she opens up a Lahu museum for people to appreciate the culture of the Lahu people, and opens up a jungle school near the village of where the coffee farm is, just an hour from here. Just last week, the first class came out. She was expecting 6 students. 42 showed up, with the village elders there present to do the first class on passing on the oral history of the Lahu people to their children. This is how this third culture kid bridges gaps between cultures. The final example I wanted to give you is a 24-year-old man called Zubin, who now lives in Seattle and works for a corporate organization on healthcare. This global nomad, who was raised as a global nomad by myself because he's my son, was born in Khon Kaen, northeastern Thailand. When he was 2 months old, his parents, a Muslim American, Ugandan African, and a Filipina Catholic mother, took him away to Central America, Honduras and Guatemala for 7 years. That's where he grew up. Became fluent in street Spanish, not good Spanish, street Spanish. And ends up, after Central America, going to a Montessori school in Vancouver, Canada, a couple more years in Ossining, New York, Cebu, Philippines, and finally graduates from high school at Montgomery County in Maryland. When he was a kid, he said, "Dad, what have I done in this life that I have to go from school to school every few years just because you think it's a good idea?" This same kid says to me now, "I'm really grateful. Thank you for the Spanish. Thank you for the world experiences. Thank you for making me realize that I'm different from the mainstream people I work with at that corporation in Seattle." See, what I'm trying to get at is there's a whole lot of common characteristics that come into play with people like Zubin and Karina and Roshan and even global nomads from previous centuries. These are people who, A, have a very good knack for languages, B, understand what compassion is all about and what it is to be a minority or an underdog, and have compassion for others that are in similar situations. These are people who realize very quickly that when they're confronted with cultural differences that may be offensive to some or unacceptable to others, instead of looking out there and finding an economic or a cultural scapegoat, these are people that look inside, look into their own cultural baggage, and start realizing maybe what I think about this situation is not exactly what's going on. These are people who are humanists, more so than nationalists, with no particular patriotic fervor about any one country. These are people, yes, there's a negative side too, that oftentimes feel very alone because they know they're different, because they know that they're being exposed to a lot more in this world than most people. But they thrive on that attention, and they thrive on the fact that it's given them the opportunity to see different parts of the world, to be interactive with people from different cultures, and yes, get into intercultural relationships themselves as well. So what does this kid Zubin think of for his future? Well, he dreams of having free health care in different parts of the globe. He's a YouTube videographer who uses the internet as a very good social media network for finding fellow global nomads to find a sense of identity. He's very conscious of the fact that there are more and more people like him searching for a sense of identity and purpose, and utilizing travel as a medium to do that. These are people that have made a very strong contribution, both in terms of creativity and collaboration, by utilizing what they've learned on the road and in their multicultural experiences to manifest it through art, through writing, through what have you. I, on the other hand, have utilized my experiences with the NGO world for 3 decades and an extensive amount of travel that I've done by writing books. It is no coincidence that a lot of the books that I write talk about situations and people and characteristics of global nomads. Because it is my contention that these kind of people are not only on the rise, but that these kind of people are the future of our planet. There's quite a few cynics that would say, "Mo, you're living in a dream world. Mainstream people don't believe in that. They just think of these people as global, globe-trotting just gypsies with not much sense of any responsibility in this day and age." I would say they are wrong. My best example for proving them wrong, the wonderful city of Chiang Mai. This is a multicultural city, and I would say to them, come here, stay here for a year, Because all year round you will find people coming through Chiang Mai from all walks of life, young and old, male and female, no particular sexual preference, if you like. These are people traveling, looking for ways to contribute to society, looking for ways to make sure that they become part of a bigger community of people where the main indicator for making friendships is not your color, is not your sex, is not your background, is not even your religion, but very simply the fact that you are here and I am here, and as human beings, we need to learn to understand each other and interact with each other to make this world a much safer place to be. If that's not, to me, that is probably the best indicator that in this fair city of Chiang Mai, the city that within another decade, as many of you might know, we will have a road that is going from Vietnam all the way across to India and China all the way down south to Singapore. Where is the crossroads of Asia? Chiang Mai. Yes, my friends, in 10 years' time, this place would be a very different place. And if you can just imagine, like I told you to imagine in the beginning, being yourself, being a global nomad. Now imagine yourself 10 years from now in Chiang Mai with global nomads coming through from all walks of life, passing through the city, imparting some of the things that they've learned on the way and learning from you. That's how the global nomad scenario looks. And that's how the future is there for us to utilize in the way that we see best. I thank you for your time, for listening to me, and thanks again.
Thank you very much, Mark. Interesting. I'm going to talk with him about his Spanish during the coffee break. Now, let's have a few words from the founder of TED again, Chris Anderson.